Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, January 23rd edition of the program. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. If you got a question, a comment, a concern, drop it there. We'll get to it over the next hour. We are looking forward to today's show. We'll talk a little bit of college baseball, college basketball, as well as the season with baseball less than a month away. We'll get into that here shortly. Also doing them around, folks, you can always catch our replays, our show replays, like yesterday where we had quarterback Caden Hauser in studio. Those are archived on Spotify, Apple Podcasts under the Hoist the Colors 94.3 The Game channel, as well as our YouTube and Facebook pages on 94.3 The Game. And it is archived on the IVX Media app, where you can also hear Talk of the Town, the Patrick Johnson Show, and the Logan Zone, which we'll have tonight, 5 to 7 p.m., with Steve Logan. We've got 3 more shows left, so this will be one of our final shows of the year, but we've got 2 more shows the week after this, so tune into Logan Zone tonight. Today we're talking Hoist the Colors, and we welcome back Philip Pilkington. He is in the 94.3 The Game studio. Yesterday we had Dominic Kosolke fill in, did a great job. That's because Philip was doing his thing, preparing for his first Division I college basketball play-by-play call, correct, Phil? And how did it go?
It went good. Definitely, we kind of found out last minute that the P-Man was sick and that he wasn't going to be able to do it. So, hope feeling better, P-Man. He is feeling better now, so I'm glad he's making a recovery. So, didn't get as much time to do maybe as much prep as I wanted, but overall went good. Shout out to the men's team and Darren Vaught getting the equipment to me with about 20 minutes to spare. We did have some backup equipment, but it just doesn't sound as crisp as the high dollar David Horn equipment that we can always strive to use. So we got that, and it was a fun time. Shout out to Cole Barnhill for organizing the interview with Coach McNeil and making sure I had all the pronunciations right, and he's always a wonderful assistant in all things that we do as it relates, as all the media relations team is. And unfortunately, the outcome of the game wasn't what we wanted it to be, but hey, some games are like that, can't win them all, and guess get ready for South Florida on Saturday.
No doubt, Lady Pirates lose a tough one to Temple. Temple was very good defensively in that game, and we'll see where they go from here. Speaking of East Carolina basketball, I do want to get your take, Philip. We'll talk to Mike Schwartz, ECU men's basketball coach, Friday. Pirates come off a 2-0 road trip, although it wasn't really even a road trip. It was a trip out west, back to Eastern North Carolina, back out west. So 2-game road swing. This is the first time in American Athletic Conference play since ECU entered the league in 2014 that the Pirates have won both legs of that. Now, you only get probably 1 or 2 of those shots a year, but still significant news there. Now, look, the end of the game could have been better in the regulation. Pirates could have salted away there, but I do give them a ton of credit because, you and I were both talking prior to the game or prior to the show about the game, and when things started to melt down there, it felt very much like, all right, here's ECU basketball. They're going to find a way to lose. And they did. They dominated overtime. They got the stop in the regulation and dominated overtime. And look, it's Tulsa. They're probably one of the worst teams in the league. But I think it's a pretty big deal. And anytime ECU goes on the road and finds a way to win a college basketball game.
Yeah, anytime you go out and win a conference game on the road in any conference is tough. But you mentioned overtime and how the end of regulation went. How many times in basketball history, especially college basketball, you look at tournament games and all this, and you say, well, if that game would have went into overtime then, it would have been a different outcome because this team had all the momentum. Well, guess what? That's what people would have been saying had ECU won this thing in regulation. Tulsa had all the momentum. ECU did not make the plays down the stretch the last 4 minutes. Tulsa entered overtime feeling good about themselves. But that minute and a half that ECU had to reset to get their you-know-what together, they got it together. They came out from the beginning of overtime. They punched Tulsa in the mouth. Tulsa did not respond. And those last 2 or 3 minutes were just pretty much dribbling the timeout. I mean, so credit to Coach Schwartz and credit to this team to not, stand there with their tail tucked between their legs, because they did struggle down the stretch. And now, I mean, it's disappointing a little bit to see them struggle down the stretch, but hey, you know what? It's a win in the win column, and that's all that matters. And you found a way to do it, and maybe this is a good learning opportunity for them to learn what not to do. And then also, it's a good opportunity for confidence to learn. Hey, you know what? Just because the going gets tough doesn't mean you roll over and quit. Not that this team has quit at all this year. I mean, heck, this is Coach Schwartz, I believe, 9th win in his career at ECU when trailing by 10 or more points. So. They know how to get it done, but there's been so many times where it seems like, they don't have the momentum going into overtime, and then that just kind of carries into overtime and they lose.
I think people would feel a lot different about this team if you could somehow erase what you cannot do, the Gardner-Webb and North Alabama games. I mean, I look at the schedule right now and just how the conference is kind of shaking out. The FAU game, you look back at it, that's probably one you should have had. But, I mean, even then, possession game could have gone either way. At South Florida, possession game. Memphis, we talked about. North Texas, one of the best teams in the league. You nearly got them at home. So, I mean, clearly a lot to play out here. You still have 11 conference games left. But I do feel like this team is at least playing better, Philip. When you look at the upcoming schedule, South Florida at home. At Temple, that'll be a tough one. But ECU has won 3 in a row against Temple, including in Philly last year. Then you get Rice at home. Then you're at UTSA. You get UAB, which is a good team, but you get them at home. 2 winnable road games at Charlotte, at Tulane, followed by a 3-game home stretch, UTSA, Charlotte, and Tulane at home. So, the schedule going forward is much more favorable. Like, you look at it, like you kind of already played the toughest part of your schedule as far as conference. So, I don't know. I'm not saying ECU is going to rattle off 10 in a row here, but maybe this team isn't as cooked as we initially thought maybe this time last week.
The interesting thing is there has not been a single game that at the under 4 media time out of the second half, you've said the Pirates are out of this thing. They have been every single game to the end. The only game that they have lost by more than 5 points in conference play is the North Texas game, and you were in that for about 38 minutes, and then you played bad. Yeah, the last 2. So that lets you know, are they going to win 10 in a row? Probably not. Can they win every game? Well, Memphis is the best team. You went into the FedEx Forum, you lost by 4. So, yes, every game, we said at the beginning of conference play, said at the beginning of the season, is winnable. I still think it's winnable for this team. I don't think that's what you can say for every team in the conference. I don't think Charlotte's going to go to Memphis and win. Of course, Charlotte played them at home this past Sunday and got beat. I don't know how bad it was. Didn't watch because it was like 5 o'clock and there were playoff games on. Not gonna lie, I don't care about Charlotte and Memphis.
Typical American basketball.
Yeah, I think it was like a 20-point game. But yeah, look, to your point, it gets they've played tougher games than what they have coming up. And Cason's beautiful face just popped on my screen.
Yeah, he texted the group chat, Cason Remaley, who will join us here shortly, asking if he could join. Cason will get you in starting next segment, and. We'll get more into this with Cason, but this team at least is showing some life. All right, I did want to hit on a couple more items with you, Philip. Caton Hauser. We had the interview, again, archived on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We put up a few clips of the interview, and, I thought it was a great interview. Didn't really have time to recap it yesterday with Dom as we were running out of time, but I thought, we interviewed him, Philip, basically this time last year. Not to the exact date probably, but around then. And, year over year, it's just awesome to see kind of the growth he's made. He's so much more comfortable now. Not that he wasn't an easy interview last year or a guy who was comfortable last year, but I don't know. I just felt like sitting with him, like he's fully bought into the culture. He wants to be here, and he wanted to be here from day one. But now that he's experienced everything, the NC State game, I think Caton's pretty fired up to be a Pirate long term.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. It kind of reminds me of talking to David Garrard a little bit, how David Garrard coming in had never heard of East Carolina for the most part. And then he came in and he really called Greenville his home for so long. And now, obviously, not that Caton had never heard of ECU growing up in a time where every game is televised, but it was an afterthought to a West Coast kid, of course. And he could have very easily came in, had a good year, got his, taken the bag, and went somewhere else. And he didn't. And talking to him both on the interview, and then we talked to him after, like, he really does seem happy here. He definitely seems like someone who adapts very easy to their environment, because we talked to him about his time at Michigan State and what life was like over there in East Lansing. But this is a young man who can connect with all different types of people and can find the best of the situation he's in. And even talking to him about the time where he wasn't the starter, I mean, you could tell by just his attitude, he was still finding the best in that situation. He has found the best in Greenville. He likes the fans. He likes the environment. He loves Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. He likes the coaching staff. And credit to him for staying in an era where young men do not stay in programs.
He also confirmed what we had kind of long hinted at, that he played the season with a fractured bone in his wrist, which, I don't know if it sounds worse than it really was, but still feel like to play a college football season, not only in your wrist, but in your throwing wrist, like that, has to have at least had some impact. And I don't know if it changed who the starter was to start the season, because the coaches were maybe a little bit weary of it, but certainly, that was one of the biggest news coming out of the interview, just the fact that he had the surgery, confirmed it, and everything.
Yeah, because it was in his wrist, and I think he said it was on the side, like closer to his thumb, of all things, right? Because it was affecting his thumb, too. And that's, I mean, when you're a quarterback, it's one thing if you got a pinky messed up or something like that, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it confirmed it, and just credit to his toughness. And he even, said, look, anytime he could have thrown a football and something could have went wrong, but he was willing to lay it out there and give his all for the team. And it just shows the character of the young man and how dedicated he is to winning football games.
All right, last thing here before we get a break in and welcome in Cason Remaley. Mel Kiper, his first mock draft. It is officially mock draft season, Phillip. And, typically I would not care about this, but we've got a Pirate in the mock draft, the first-round mock draft. Savone Rebel, ECU cornerback, has long been mocked as a potential first-round pick. He was getting top 12, top 10 buzz before his ACL injury. Still projected to go in the first round by a lot of outlets. I think Kiper has Savone third on his cornerback big board personally. Now, he's got Savone going 27th as the fourth cornerback, assuming you count Travis Hunter as a corner, to the Baltimore Ravens. And he says, quote, teams will be watching Rebel's medicals as he recovers from a torn ACL that ended his 2024 season in September. He has tremendous size and leans on his strong instincts to make plays. Rebel, who would be the first East Carolina first-rounder since Chris Johnson in 2008, had 2 interceptions in 3 games this season, including a pick-6. Now picture Rebel in the Baltimore secondary with Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, and Kyle Hamilton. He could fill free agent Brandon Stevens' void and help limit the big plays that burn the Ravens this season. He adds that they were third in the league in giving up big plays. So there's your little end quote. There's your little blurb on Savone Rebel to the Ravens. Looks like a back-end first-rounder, Phillip. Probably could go anywhere from 24 or so to 32. Like, he's got the Minnesota Vikings taking the Notre Dame corner. I could see Rebel going as high as there. But what are your thoughts on Savone Rebel still being a first-rounder and potentially going to the Ravens?
Well, first off,
we got a guy up there. Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way? I mean, here.
Yeah, so who the hell's Mel Kiper? We all know, right? No.
He's been doing it for years. I don't know if he's good.
I like the Baltimore fit kind of because of what you said, where it's like, look, this is a really good defense. They've got a great front seven. Their safeties flow downhill, and they find the football. They're great at stopping the run, and it forces teams to pass the football. And I would say out of teams that I thought were legit Super Bowl contenders, they probably had the worst corners. So this is it for him to step into an opportunity where he could start off the jump, where there's not a lot of missing pieces, where other people's mistakes will tend to hurt him because, again, the safeties are good, the box is good, they get after the quarterback pretty well. I think it's a good fit. Now, probably Dom could give us a little bit more of an insight on the Vikings side of this. They've got a lot of free agents there, more of which I think are on the offensive side than the defensive side. But, I know he loves their GM. So I think there's a decent amount of fits because right now that is kind of one of the tougher positions to get. It's not one of the positions we talk about in the NFL. We talk about getting a good quarterback, we talk about getting a good left tackle, but just because you're a great football team doesn't always mean you have great corners. And in an era where you do have playoff games and Super Bowls a couple years ago ending 38-35, a lockdown corner or a second true number 2 can be the difference in winning a Lombardi and not winning one. So I think there's definitely some spots out there where I love to see him go late first round as opposed to early second, of course, because I want to see him on a team where he stands a little better chance to be successful.
No doubt. Minnesota, all 3 of their starting corners, Stephon Gilmore, Shaquille Griffin, and slot Byron Murphy Jr. are free agents. So Minnesota, a strong possibility as well, depending on who they go with. All right, we'll get a break in. There's your look at the NFL draft. We'll continue to keep you updated on that with Savone Revel as the draft gets closer. Should get a better indication of where he will land. All right, we'll get that break. On the other side, we'll welcome in our good friend Cason Remaley, talking college basketball, and we'll get into some college baseball, look ahead to the season as well. Across the Carolinas with Carolina Curveball. We'll be right back. This is Hoist the Colors.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes! That was so good!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors, Thursday, January 23rd edition of the show. We talked a little bit of everything in segment 1 with Philip Pilkington, who is producing today's show. We're going to continue that theme with some college hoops and college baseball discussion with our guest today. He is former Hoist the Colors intern. He's now doing big things with Stitch Golf and Carolina Curveball. He is Cason Remaley. Cason, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Just living the life, man. Just missing you in Greenville. How much do you miss Greenville?
I miss it a lot, and especially after seeing the videos this past week of the students doing the snow. I miss it so much. We only got one snow in 2022. Didn't get one last year, so I wish I was there causing ruckus in the snow, but yeah.
I hear you, man. Well, hey, good to have you back, and we'll talk some college baseball with Carolina Curveball coming up here shortly. But let's start with college hoops, man, and we'll start close to home with East Carolina. And the Pirates have won back-to-back road games on the same road trip for the first time since entering the American. And I know we've had a lot of mixed discussions about this year's ECU basketball team, but what do you make of the Pirates having some recent success here on the road?
Well, first off, I want to say that I'm very, very proud of them. I was going to be honest, I was shocked, but then again, I mean, they've been playing well these last two games. I mean, I posted on the board after their win. I was like, I don't care who you are, you got to be proud of this team. Winning two back-to-back road games like that's tough. I mean, RJ Felton doing what he does, and other pieces that sometimes you wouldn't think, and giving you a bucket here and there, or getting just big buckets. And I texted Steven after the game, and I was like, can we get Blake Harrell to contact Jordan Riley? I think he can play some outside linebacker for us, maybe strong safety. That guy is built like a tank. I mean, he's been doing some big things, too, for this team, and I'm looking forward to see what they have left.
Yeah, Jordan Riley, guys, RJ Felton's a big dude. He makes RJ look tiny. So I don't know what Jordan Riley's doing, but he is put together. And from what I hear, he's actually got another year of eligibility left. So ECU would try and retain him, obviously, for next season if he could get a medical redshirt. So, this team still has their deficiencies, guys. You look at it, the shooting has been there the last two games, and that's a large part in why they've won these games on the road. Philip and I were talking pre-show, Cason, and it's like, all right, now you've got some momentum. You're coming back home. 1 o'clock tip-off against South Florida on Saturday. South Florida coming off a horrific loss to Charlotte. They're doing their North Carolina road trip. The schedule ahead is pretty manageable, but it's just like it feels like a lot of times when ECU as a program gets momentum, they lay an egg in a game like this. So how important is it to keep it going Saturday?
It's absolutely massive, and I think they have a great opportunity in front of them. I think at home you have a good opportunity, but then again with this team this year, I mean, you can make an argument been playing better on the road recently. That's a fact. So, I mean, do we wish this game was in South Florida? I don't know, maybe up in the air, but home game against a not very good team. And then just like you said, going ahead and looking at the rest of the schedule. I mean, the rest of the schedule, the whole entire way, there's not a team on the schedule that I'm like, holy, like, they can beat us, like, by a lot. But then again, with this ECU team, you don't know which team's going to show up. So I definitely think it is manageable for sure. And just like you were saying about the momentum thing, what was it, 2 years ago or a year ago, they won 2 or 3 straight. And I remember me and you talked with Grady after the game, like, oh, they got this momentum and going into this, and then they dropped 3 straight, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, at Rice was the –
yeah, that was
I think it was last year at Rice. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. All right. Questions in the chat. Bruce Willis says we win 2 games in a row and Cason wants to associate with us again. Dude is hilarious.
Shots fired. There you go, Bruce.
To be fair, Bruce, I did invite Cason on the show. He did not reach out, so this was my doing. Bruce Willis also wants to know what happened to NC State. Why are they garbage? So what's going on with the Wolfpack, Cason?
Why are they so bad? Well, I think they're bad for a multitude of reasons. I think that the portal class this year was not Kevin Keats' best, and this will go into I think this deals with every team in the country. They need to push that window back. I mean, they were on a Final Four run, and you can't really do what you want with the kids you want, and same with the guys in the college football playoff right now. I mean, they played, an extra 2 months, and all these other schools are getting players in the portal, but they're focusing on the game at hand. So I think that has something to do with it, and also just the team can't shoot. If you dropped them out of a boat in the middle of the ocean, they wouldn't hit water. So, yeah.
Who's the worst shooting team, ECU or NC State?
Oh, NC State, no doubt about it.
I don't know.
ECU has talented shooters on the roster. NC State, if you watch a game, I mean, we got 6-foot guards thinking they're big men. So.
All right, Bobby Harvard says, "Is South Florida flying back to Florida between their 2 North Carolina games?" I'm gonna assume no, Bobby, but I don't know. I'll check in. I do have some sources at South Florida. I will figure that out and I will respond to you. Of course, he's talking about ECU, which flew back from Wichita to Greenville back to Tulsa. But that's a discussion for another day. Hey, they got 2 wins. Maybe they should do it more often.
Hey, Cason, real quick, sticking with State, how's your boy Casey liking being on ACC Network calling games?
He likes it a lot, yeah. The first game, I think I could tell he was a little jittery maybe, but he's liked it very, very well. He has some other games coming up. I think he's calling an ECU women's game coming up soon, maybe. Or he told me that in November he has a schedule for all these games. He's doing a Carolina game, a Wake Forest game, State games. But yeah, he likes it. He likes it very much. So now I have 2 friends that call Division I basketball games.
I appreciate it. I think you got one who's like a fill-in, got called up from the AAAs for one game kind of thing. But hey, I guess if you make the bigs, you still make the bigs, right?
That's right.
Hey, Cason, we were texting about, and look, I said it earlier this week with Brady Thomas and Philip on. Like, I'm a little bit of a casual college basketball fan. You know, I'll definitely admit that, especially while football was ongoing. And we were texting me and you the other day about the job that Louisville has done, just turning this thing around quickly. And look, I mean, according to my sources, when ECU hired Mike Schwartz, Pat Kelsey was at least interested in the ECU job. I don't know if he would have taken it. He was at College of Charleston at the time. But what he's done at Louisville year over year, pretty impressive. So thoughts on the ACC, which is, once again, not having the best season, but Louisville's up there along with Duke, obviously.
Yeah, and for the casual basketball fan out there, you don't know how hurt this Louisville team is. They are missing major pieces to their team, and they are still killing teams. They're storm rolling teams. And I mean, the state of the ACC, I mean, it is something that I've never seen in my life before. I don't think I've ever seen a power conference this bad. It is kind of interesting, and shout out Brandon Johnson, but I mean, what's going down there at Miami? I mean, have any of y'all seen those games?
They're terrible.
Yeah, I mean, dare we say, if ECU played Miami, it'd be darn near a pick'em. Right?
I wouldn't disrespect ECU that much. I would. They're 4-14.
That's true. Yeah. Well, ACC biased Vegas odds. If they knew if they made ECU a favorite, everybody would hammer Miami. People who don't know what they're doing, but I think seriously in the line it would be a pick'em. I mean,
bro, I'm looking at these scores.
I mean they lost to didn't they lose to Stetson or some crap at the beginning of the year? I mean, they've lost to some bad teams. It ain't like they went out there out of conference and played Kansas, Gonzaga, Drake, and, Iowa State.
So they lost to Charleston Southern, and you look at they lost to Mount St. Mary's at home. These are their last few ACC games. They lost to Stanford yesterday, 88-51. The game before that, they lost at home to SMU, 117-74. They lost to Duke, 89-54. Lost to Wake by 10. Lost to Florida State by 15. I mean, they're getting ECU might be favored. I mean, legitimately.
That's what
based
I'm
on
saying.
The current trend.
Hey, Cason, did you see Scooter's text? He wants to ask you a question on air. Scooter says, I had a question for Mr. Remaley. Oh, it's very official. Would Caleb LeCount had been a difference maker on this team had he not transferred, and why would he be a candidate for the Wooden Award? Gosh, this is what happens when we let Scooter ask questions.
Well, shout out Caleb LeCount. I have not
K1,
had those
man.
2 words come out in a long time, and I hope he's doing well at Humboldt. I have not looked, honestly.
Hey,
but
I've got the numbers. You want them?
I do. Let's get them.
Caleb LeCount at Humboldt State, 11.5 points per game, 68 assists, to 51 turnovers. He is shooting 80% from the free throw line, 38% from three, 44% from the field.
Yeah, get him on a get him on a plane back here right now. If he's shooting that from three, come on, let's go get him
We'll
right
take
now.
We'll take any help we can get. The SEC reigns supreme. So, like, we talked about that kind of ad nauseum. What other league or teams? Obviously, the Big 12 really good. Nationally, what other teams are really catching your attention right now, Cason?
For me, and look, this is just kind of my kind of bias towards it, but the SEC is doing great, and I get they're the best conference right now. But I'll say this: for the 2 or 3 ACC teams that will make the tournament, they will outperform every SEC team. It happens every single year. The ACC's down, only 4 or 5 teams make the conference, but they'll make the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. But other than that, I mean, the best team in the country, I think, is Auburn. I think Auburn's the best team in the country. They're the most dominant team with the most dominant player, Broom. And Duke is Duke. Duke is Duke. And just like you were talking about earlier, that Louisville team, that's a scrappy, good team. And, I mean, they're just good. And I just can't really explain it. Just their coaching, just from the roster. And the coaching job that he's done is not talked about enough because he's missing major pieces, and he's still just winning games. And the other one that catches my eye is just how bad Miami is. Going to be honest with you. I mean, that's just shocking to me.
Hey, with Houston, we were texting about them last night too. They Utah put up an ECU at Houston performance. I'd seen ECU lose at Houston 80-37. Last night, coming off the top 25 win over BYU, Houston beat Utah 70-36. I mean,
you want to read that box score?
Yeah, Ezra Sarr 1 point, I believe. So, can Kelvin Sampson win a national championship at Houston this year?
I'm going to start off and say I wish. I like Kelvin. I'm going to say no because all 5 of his starters play 100 minutes a game. And by the first week of March, they are cramping halfway down the field at the under 16, under the court. I wish he would, but I also think the beating the Big 12 takes. Also a Big 12 kind of pivot here. Shout out Javon Small. Talk about what an award. He has put his name on that list.
Yeah, Javon Small. I did see they lost to Arizona State the other day in a disappointing game, but still, he is averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He is doing a heck of a job. All right, Cason, before we take a break and get college baseball talk in on the other side, any other college basketball news or notes you want to throw out there? And I'll let Philip, if he wants to answer or ask a question on college hoops, can as well. But we'll start with Cason. Anything you want to throw out?
Who will be the head coach of the Tar Heels in 2 years? They're not going to fire Hubert after this year. No shot. 0% chance. But next year there will be a new head coach, and just it's funny to me, all these Carolina fans before the season, just we're going to be so good. But when you look at that team on paper, you got Jalen Washington at big. I think I might take Sierra Malonga over Jalen Washington. So we'll see what Philip has to say about that. 2 bigs that can't catch.
Go catch the ball on a low block. I got a question that I know Carolina curveball is baseball, but I'm still going to throw a mid-major North Carolina team at you because I know you pay attention. Is High Point a legit contender to pull off a round of 64 upset? Darren Vaught says it's a 15-2 upset waiting to happen. I want your thoughts.
So, first off, I will say they are a great team. They have a good team. Shout out Bobby Pettiford, who's a 6th man on that team, comes off about 20 minutes off the bench. Shout out. I will say, though, they've been a good team the last couple of years. They were the best team in the conference last year and got upset in the championship. So I think first step is winning that championship. And then second step is, yes, I could definitely see them being a upset. And I don't think they'd be a 15 to me personally. I would put them at a 14 or 13 maybe. 13 maybe stretching a little too bit. But yes, Philip, they are a very good team.
All right, Bobby Pettiford, by the way, averaging 8.4 points. Like Cason said, 21 minutes off the bench per game and shooting a very crisp 63% from the field, 44% from three-point range, 86% from the line. Where was this last year, Bobby P?
I guess it's just the rims and Minges. We need some new rims.
It's something. I mean, everybody who leaves here. Javon, everybody but Ezra. I mean, Bobby, Tristan Newton. That Tristan Newton used to play here. The guy who won 2 national championships. Jaden Gardner, yeah. Which, honestly, I feel like Gardner, like, he wasn't that much better in Virginia than he was here. Like, he was
basically the same player
I feel like
on that bigger stage.
Yeah.
Also in a funky system.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll switch gears. Carolina Curveball is being ran by Cason Remaley. That is a baseball outlet, so we'll get Cason's take. We'll look across the Carolinas, including close to home at ECU, on college baseball season, which is coming up just around the corner. We'll do that next. This is Hoist the Colors.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Arr, matey!
Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, January 23rd edition of the show. You never know what you're going to get into when Cason Remaley is on Hoist the Colors. He's back from our HTC intern, now out in the real world, but still doing his thing. Philip Hilkinen producing. We talked Caleb LeCount. We talked Sierra Malonga, potentially better than UNC's big man, and all sorts of stuff. But let's talk some college baseball, and I got to give a shout-out to Cason for Carolina Curveball. You can follow it at Carolina Curve BB on Twitter. You guys are approaching 1,000 followers. So first off, before we get into some specifics, Cason, tell us about you guys' coverage, the growth over the past year, and everything going on at Carolina Curveball.
Yeah, so while I was with Steven, I kind of wanted to come up with kind of some baseball content of all the I want to come up with college baseball content. And I kind of was thinking about a bunch of stuff. Me and Steven went through some ideas, and then I got with my best friends, and we're like, it just kind of stumbled upon us of all this great baseball in the Carolinas. And we're like, we want to cover all North and South Carolina baseball teams. There's 28 Division I programs. And at Carolina Curveball, we have coverage and live updates of all 28 programs. We are setting up a website right now, and each team is going to have a folder of their content, and they can go there and see every other team. And the next big thing is a podcast is coming up, kind of like the ducks on the pond. Ours is going to be on Monday nights. We're going to discuss our weekly power rankings that will drop that Monday as well, and discuss the weekend recap, and then also the midweek games coming up. So we have loads of content. If you go to our Twitter, we've already started. There's tons of preseason content out right now, and more to come.
All right, so teams from the Carolinas in the preseason top 25. You've got North Carolina at 6. You've got Duke at 11, NC State at 13, Wake at 14, Clemson at 15. I believe that is it. If I'm leaving out somebody, correct me. Obviously, ECU not in that preseason top 25, Cason. So how surprised were you with that? And then other thoughts on Carolina teams involved in that top 25?
I was honestly not very surprised. I mean, so during these previews, we're doing a special preview for every single program, all 20 programs. And when me and Braxton is a big part of Carolina Curveball, probably one of the biggest parts, if not the biggest part. We and him were doing research on the teams and looking at who came back, who left, who's coming in, and ECU had the longest list of losses. I mean, everyone watching the show knows who left. I mean, we lost the core of our last 3 or 4 year team, and this year's brand new. So I expected them not to be ranked, and I honestly like it because I want them to prove that they are good enough to play, and they are good enough to compete, and good enough to go to NCAA regional, and good enough to host a regional. And I think that is step one, and I'm glad that they're not ranked. So no target on our back, or always be targeting ECU's back, but I definitely think it's good. And I think it's good for Cliff Godwin to not have all these questions, because I remember last year in the media day, everyone was not everyone, just Luke Swartz. Shout out Luke Swartz. Asked him, with all these expectations, how do you think you're going to go? And he asked Luke, is this your first year here? So it's a pretty funny moment there, but I definitely think it's going to be a different vibe leading up to this season, because I remember last year it was just totally different, Steven.
Hey, media day is Monday, Casey. You should be there representing Carolina Curveball.
Carpool Wax.
Maybe.
You guys live close to each other, right? Somewhat.
I have no idea where Wags lives, honestly.
He lives just on the north side of the city. Like, he's off of 440, like exit like 4 or 5.
What's his address? So everyone can write it down.
I ain't gonna put his address on for the
I'm
world
just
to know.
messing.
But he, I mean, I feel like he lives some close to you. He's coming in. I mean, shout out to Chip for just letting anybody show up. He's letting Wags show up. I mean, I'm sure
if Wags can show up, you can definitely show up.
Yeah.
Casey.
I got to see if I can get off work, but we'll see.
He's already taken time off work to be on the show. You can't push it, but
Fair
much.
Enough, Fair enough.
All right, so for your money, Cason, who is the best team in the Carolinas on paper?
I would have to say the Tar Heels. Their pitching coming back is very, very good. They're bringing back DeCaro and the kid from Greenville, Mateus. He's there. And then I remember me and you talking last year at Carolina to their SID. What's his name? He was at ECU.
Jody Jones used to be the SID there.
Yeah. Last year talking, I remember the conversation, you and him. He was like, well, we have a lot of offense this year, not much pitching. We're really young pitching. And then you said, well, next year you'll be having the exact opposite conversation. And that is the conversation. But then again, Carolina did a really good job in the portal getting guys from every single level. And just like last year, I think it's Madera coming back, their second baseman. He's from not from Division I. And just all across the Carolinas during our previews, so many contributors are not from the Division I level. And I think that I'm looking forward to seeing that because a lot of these fans see players like Zach Rue or Bristol Carter, for example, going from a big program to another big program. Oh my gosh, it's such a massive get. But a lot of these big gets are from these smaller schools that don't get any attention because they're on lower levels. And through the month of February, you're slowly going to start hearing these guys here and there like, wow, like this kid's good. Where did this kid come from? And that's what we're trying to do at Carolina Curveball, to trying to tell these people, our fans, where these players are coming from all levels.
Who was the kid last year that was the pitcher, supposed to be the Friday night guy that got hurt before the season?
I can't. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name, but I think he is expected to be back. Big right-hander.
Yeah.
Was it Peterson?
I think so. Is he still on a roster, or is it or did he?
I can look.
Hell, he might have been draft eligible, and I know he got hurt.
I will try to look that up. I think it was a big right-hander.
Parker Easton just texted me. It's Jake Knapp. Thanks for listening and texting, Parker. All right.
They had a bunch of injuries last year too.
I'm gonna look him up. I got their roster in front of me.
I
Yeah,
do
so
remember.
Knapp's supposed to be back. He's listed as a grad student, I guess, because obviously last year he didn't have to use. He got a medical red shirt. He didn't pitch. So yeah, Knapp's back too. On top of everybody, just Cason just named. I mean, who knows? Coming off an injury, if he'll be everything he was supposed to be, and he probably won't right off the jump. But at least he's been hurt for now over 12 months. So he'll have time to get back. And I'm sure once league play starts, he'll be everything that they hoped he could be.
Yeah, their roster. I mean, obviously Folger Boaz last year as a freshman, and then they had DeCaro step up as a youngster too. They're going to be really good on the mound. So that second weekend of the season, ECU UNC will be a lot of fun to follow. All right, Cason, last question for you. From a baseball standpoint, obviously, we talked about the big names. What about, give me like an off the radar team that looks pretty good this year from the Carolinas that maybe nobody's talking about?
There's so many good ones. I mean, I think one that, man, it's a tough one to pick. I wouldn't say off the radar, but kind of fell off the radar is Campbell. Campbell last year had a very, very bad year, and their coach kind of left and went to Ohio State. And I think this year will be a big year for them, bouncing back, new coach, have a good amount of transfers. I think another big storyline this year, kind of pivoting from your question, but want to get it in, is Charleston. Charleston last year won 40 games, didn't make the tournament because they lost conference championship. People thought they should get an at-large bid, so I'm looking forward to see how hungry they are this upcoming year. They did lose Cole Mathis, who played every position for the Cougars, but I'm looking forward to see what they do. Looking forward to see what UNC Wilmington does. Tanner Thatch is coming back off 27 home runs. He will be a problem. Projected second-team All-American. He's going to be a stud. Coastal Carolina, who ECU plays, brought back Caden Bodine, who's one of the best catchers in the country. He's a stud. So locally here, and the teams that ECU is going to play, they're not going to be easy games. There's not a tough out on the ECU schedule. So we'll see.
It's going to be interesting with Campbell to see how they start the season. Last year, they start out 2-1 in the first weekend against a really tough UC Santa Barbara team that goes on to host. They travel to Santa Barbara this year, obviously, as their first 3 games in that return trip, and then they get ECU at home as their first 4 games. So big opportunity for Campbell to prove once again, to Cason's point, that they're back and, a legit contender.
All right, Cason, we'll let you get out of here. I know you got to get back to work. I was going to make you name all 28 teams in the Carolinas without looking, but I'll save that for next time.
I can do it next time for you 100%, no doubt.
All right, man. Appreciate you hopping on, dude. Always great to catch up.
It's good to catch up with y'all, too. Hopefully see y'all soon.
See you, man.
No doubt. Carolina Curveball. Follow them. Check out all their great work. Carolina Curve BB on Twitter. Get them to 1,000 followers. They're almost there. So Cason can throw a party. All right, we'll be right back. Philip and I will wrap up the show after this.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
This holiday season, get the gift you really want at Greenville Toyota. It's our holiday trade-up. Drive a new Corolla, just $229 a month, or a new Tacoma, only $329 a month, during the holiday trade-up at Greenville Toyota.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Hey, on the mountain we've got a saying. Get off your...
Show off.
Mountain Dew.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves tiebreakers.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Unwrap a new Toyota for the holidays at Greenville Toyota. It's our holiday trade-up. Get a new Camry, $269 a month, or a new RAV4, $329 a month. Trade up and save at Greenville Toyota.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout eastern North Carolina. Get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
What's happening?
Tell me what's happening. Every ECU fan's one stop for all things ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in, Hoist the Colors, final segment here on a Thursday, January 23rd edition. Thanks to Cason Remaley for taking some time to talk college hoops and college baseball. We've got Philip Pilkington alongside. We only got a couple minutes left, so let's jump right into it, Philip. We got to do our daily ECU baseball roster rundown. For those that have not been paying attention, we're going through each player on the roster numerically. Because there are 31 new players this year, we're introducing you to all the new guys and the roster as a whole. So we've done Keenan Bowman, Dixon Williams yesterday. I did Roger Vergara. Today, we're at least going to get to Davin Whitaker, who is number 3. We'll see if we have time for another. Davin Whitaker is number 3. He's a 6'1", 200-pound redshirt freshman outfielder. Did not play in any games last year because he was a redshirt player, obviously. And if you didn't know any better, Philip, when I went out to fall practice this year, he looked like Jacob Jenkins Cowart. Number 3, big, tall lefty. Mustache has been grown out. He hit around 300 plus with a handful of home runs this summer for I want to say the Bethesda Big Train. Don't have it in front of me. Definitely a guy who has a chance to make that leap, kind of like Keenan Bowman, but I almost feel like he's trying to be like JC Jr.
Yeah, he kind of looks like him, like you said. You know, this is a guy who last year would have played some at first base had Carter Cunningham not moved to first base. But when Carter took over that starting role from Cam, it just bumped Davin down the depth chart behind Cam Clonch, obviously. But they knew, you know, that if something were to happen to one of those guys and there needed to become a new backup first baseman, that red shirt probably would have been pulled, and it would have been Davin Whitaker. Like you said, he's got some power. I think he's got, you know, some speed. He's not he's not like Jacob Starling or Riley Johnson, where he's short and he's got speed, but he's got long enough strides, and it just doesn't take him a long time to get from one place to the next. So this is going to be a guy that it wouldn't surprise me whether he makes his home in the outfield at first base or becomes a little bit of a, your typical athletic lefty that learns how to play both.
So, yeah, I got the numbers now. Davin Whitaker, left-handed hitter. This summer for the Bethesda Big Train, he was a teammate, by the way, of Keenan Bowman. Over 30 games, he batted .324 with a .384 on-base percentage. That equals, combined with a .441 slug and .825 OPS, which is very good. 7 doubles, 2 homers, 23 ribbies, batted in the middle of the order, 9 walks, 4 stolen bases, and 5 attempts and 20 strikeouts. So the strikeout number is a little high, but you kind of expect that from he's listed at 6'1" on the EC roster, but I think he's more 6'3" from what I gather, looking at other stuff. So big, kid who's filling out his frame. All right, we are out of time, so we'll have to save Nick Parham for tomorrow. We'll try to get 2 players in tomorrow. We got some catching up to do. Bobby Harward will join us in studio to preview the conference championship weekend, his Washington Commanders. He may get emotional on air talking about it, but we'll see. See if he can get through it. Philip, appreciate you as always, man. Good to have you back today.
It was fun. Thanks for having me back, and I appreciate Dom for the spot start.
Absolutely, Dom did well. He allowed you to fulfill your dream of being a D1 broadcaster. So glad we could make that happen, and looking forward to many more. All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon with Bobby and Philip. Thanks again to